Test 1 2, test 1 2. All right, looks like we're all good. Let's get into this. So, we have UFC 304, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. This is a big one. This is one that I've been waiting for a long time. And I think it is going to be a really fun and exciting fight. Leon Edwards is someone that I've really enjoyed watching fight. I've enjoyed seeing his style, breaking down his style, and predicting how he's going to do against different people. I thought his fights against Kamaru Usman and his fight against Colby Covington were all amazing, and we're going to go over those today. So, if you're going to stop by, just chill out, relax, and let's get into some fights while I make notes. Hey, how's it going? Glad to have you here. I'm going to start off with Belal Muhammad's most recent fight, or it's not his most recent fight, but a good fight against Sean Brady. So notably, this was when he had Habib in his corner. And let's get into it. So this was during Fight Island. I'm just going to be streaming the clock for if you're curious to try to follow along at all. And just looking at his record, let's just go over his record really quick. So he fought Gilbert Burns in 2023, so that's over a year ago. Fought Sean Brady a bit before that, and Vicente Luque. So he's been off for a while waiting for this title fight. But he's had some really good performances. I'd say his win over Stephen Thompson, Vicente Luque, Sean Brady, and Gilbert Burns are all great wins in the welterweight division. And if we go over Leon Edwards' record, he has his Nate Diaz fight, which was really dumb. And then he fights Kamaru Usman again, beats Colby Covington, and now he's fighting Belal Muhammad. So is this a step down in competition? Is it a step up in competition? Let's find out. So we have Belal taking on Brady. Belal's coming in with a very forward heavy style, just moving forward constantly. He's able to block Sean Brady's kicks there. Got hit with a leg kick there, really pumping out the jab against Sean Brady. This was an interesting fight. I thought Sean Brady would do more wrestling. I did pick Belal to win. I think it was like at a plus 150 underdog here. Sean Brady's striking is not very impressive. His cardio isn't impressive. His grappling is very good, but I thought Belal had a good style to deal with that. Sean's pumping out the jab, or Belal's pumping out the jab. He's eating some low leg kicks from Sean Brady there. And that jab did get through, so I'm going to write it in here. So Belal south, or he is an orthodox stance. Orthodox stance. Am I supposed to say? Orthodox stance, left leg, vulnerable to leg kicks. That was a good 1-2. So Brady comes in with the jab. Belal counters with a 1-2 of his own. And we know that his right hand is actually pretty lethal, at least in this Brady fight. We'll see how it works in the Belal Muhammad fight. Or not in the Belal Muhammad fight, but we'll see how it works in the Gilbert Burns fights too. Wait a second, 1 second. Oh my goodness. sign into this OBS. Okay, there we go. All right, let's continue this. So one thing that I've been noticing about Belal is he's, at least in this fight, he's very pressing forward constantly. He's very heavy on his lead leg, and that makes it vulnerable to leg kick attacks. And he's also not the best in terms of being light on his feet. He leans over his lead leg a lot when he's throwing that 1-2. Really leaning forward over, so putting a ton of pressure on that, which is going to make it vulnerable to getting kicked, and it's going to make it difficult for him to keep following his opponent. And so we know Leon Edwards, he likes to skate by on the ring side, uses a lot of lateral movement. I think that's going to be a hard style for Belal to track down with his punches, especially since he's very stationary. He also doesn't have the best defense in the world. He has he's pretty diligent about keeping that right hand up by his chin, but when he has shots coming straight down the middle, that will catch him. But that right hand that he lands is good. His right hand is clean. He has a pretty decent jab. And I do really like Belal's work ethic in terms of keeping the pressure on his opponents, and also in terms of going tit for tat in terms of point fighting. So he's going to be a hard man to win rounds against, although I do think that Sean Brady won the first round against him in their fight. That left hook of Sean Brady is landing on Belal too. He's pretty decent at rolling with the punches, but that's not a great style to win rounds with, because the judges are going to see you moving your head, and how can they know if your head is moved because of the strike or if it's moved because you're rolling with it? So they're going to score those strikes against you, even if they're not really doing that much damage. In the Sean Brady fight, I know Sean Brady isn't the best striker in the world, but he does have good grappling, so that's something that Belal had to keep in mind. Avoiding Sean Brady's grappling attacks on him, and he is doing a pretty decent job of avoiding the vast majority of strikes that Sean's throwing back. This pressure, this heavy pressure against the cage is going to be great for Belal against Edwards, but Edwards is going to be moving a lot, way more than what Sean Brady did. So now we're in round 2. I do really want to watch the Belal fight against Gilbert Burns, because I thought he did great in that fight. He had like a broken foot or something. I know Gilbert broke his hand in that fight, but I guess they're kind of even in that regard. Big right hand from Belal there. That jab from Belal is good. Leg kick from Belal is good. Hold on. That heavy pressure still adding up. He's starting to walk Brady down at this moment. That left hook from Brady is fast, but he's just not landing it. Belal's actually doing a good job of staying outside of the range of it. Brady's thrown a few of those front kicks up the middle, and Belal's actually pulled away from that too. Yeah, Brady just doesn't really have any power in his hands, so it's hard to use this fight to judge how well Belal's going to do against Leon. Those body kicks from Brady are good. I think body kicks from Leon Edwards is going to be there. Body kicks land on Belal. Yeah, and then that situation, Sean Brady landed a right hand and immediately Belal threw back. So that work ethic might actually be a big problem for Leon Edwards, that tit for tat. Because Leon Edwards is like that himself. He does throw tit for tat, but he really likes a much slower pace in his fights. Yeah, every time Belal gets hit by a right hand from Brady, he throws a combination right back at him. All right, I'll pause it. What do you got for me, Sam Sora? Speaking of movement / impact from shots, who do you think won the first round of Jan Sterling 2? That's a really good question. Jan and Sterling, that fight I think about a lot because Aljamain Sterling's so fucking funny. Going into that fight, I'm like, there's no way in hell Aljamain's going to beat Petr Yan. And then in the first round, wasn't it, like, I'd have to rewatch it, but it was pretty much Aljamain Sterling's body kicks to Petr Yan and then Jan's, like, jabs in his right hands. And then Aljo, famously gets Petr Yan's back in round 2, gets his back in round 3. He's laughing about it. He's laughing to himself. Then no one talks about it, but he completely gasses out in rounds 4 and 5. And so it really comes down to round 1. So you can make a very strong argument that Petr Yan beat Aljamain Sterling in that fight. So I just think that fight is hilarious because everyone's like, oh, Aljamain Sterling proved that he's the best in the world in that fight. He humbled Petr Yan, but I don't know. I think that either way, you can make an argument either way. I would probably give it to Aljamain Sterling. I do think he did more in that round. And in general, I value kicks to the body and even to the legs more than I value jabs to the head. I think that if you're going to score that off of impact, kicks to the body and legs have a greater impact than jabbing the head. Unless you're like wobbling the person with your head jab. Hey, thanks for the support, Mexican food truck. All right, let's continue. We're almost done with this fight. So yeah, Belal hasn't checked any leg kicks. I don't know if he would check leg kicks against Leon Edwards. Leon's never had like great leg kicks himself. And I know that in the Diego Lima fight, who is actually a good leg kicker, Belal just took all of the leg kicks, didn't bother checking them at all. But he was still able to win that fight pretty much just through grit and determination. So I think that even if Leon lands leg kicks, I don't think it's going to be that impactful in this fight. Like, Belal has shown a tendency to kind of ignore leg kicks, and that's been working for him. And I don't think that's going to really be the difference here. I think the main kind of point of tension in this fight is going to be, can Belal track Leon Edwards down? Because Leon's done a great job of almost frustrating his opponents, where they're not able to land shots on him. They're not able to really, like, they can get takedowns on Leon, but they're not able to consistently hold him there and then win because of the takedowns. So I think that's going to be the big part. Can Belal keep Leon Edwards down and do enough on the ground to make up for the deficit on the feet? And I do think he's at a deficit. All right, 70 seconds left in this fight. Belal's landed some good shots. Yeah, Belal's footwork is not the best. Like, he's fallen a few times against Sean Brady. The right side of Belal's face is all bloody now because that left hand from Brady has been getting through to him. Like, I think that Belal's done more brain damage to Brady, but yeah, that right hand from Belal just landed really nicely. That shot's been landing throughout the entire fight. And let's just be honest, he doesn't have the most power in his hands, but when he's able to land over and over on you, it doesn't matter. And I think that's something that you can also say about Leon Edwards, where Leon Edwards hits Belal with the head kick in their first fight. It doesn't wobble him. And the coach is like, you took his best shot. You're not going to have to worry about that head kick anymore. Well, if you get hit by that head kick 5 times throughout the fight, maybe the 6th time is going to be the one that wobbles you. And then Belal gets the fight over. So that was a great performance against Belal. Runs out into the crowd. Really impressive performance. He was the underdog in that fight. He got hit with the left hook a lot. I'm going to write that down. Hit with left hook. But he was able to keep great pressure on his opponent. And he pinned him up against the cage. I also think that Belal's game plan in that fight was great, and that's something that you can definitely write in favor of Belal Muhammad, that he comes in with great game plans. Because let's take a look at his record really quick. Let's see, where's his record? Here it is. Okay, so yeah, we'll go over Belal's record. So we'll start off with the Stephen Thompson fight, which, I mean, Damian Maia was over. You hope Sean O'Malley wins against Merab? I mean, I hope he wins too against Merab. He's not fighting this weekend, though. Okay, so we'll start off with the Stephen Thompson fight, because that was a fight where Belal was actually the underdog. Damian Maia was over the hill at that point. Diego Lima wasn't very good when he fought him. Stephen Thompson, great fighter, great on the feet. Belal Muhammad was able to get takedowns on him consistently and win the fight there. And was this a 3-round fight or a 5-round fight? I believe this was a 3-round fight. Yeah, so this was Lewis versus Dawkins. Yeah, so 3 5-minute rounds. So yeah, he got him down. Then he fights Vicente Luque, the underdog in that fight again. Let's take another look at this fight. And he pretty much does the exact same thing that he did against Stephen Thompson. So yeah, he was a plus 150 slight underdog. And just gets him down. He was a big underdog in terms of the MMA community. After he beat I had picked Stephen Thompson to beat Belal, because we just got to remember, like, he was fighting guys like Diego Lima and Damian Maia, and he didn't look great against Leon Edwards. So yeah, you have to imagine, like, Stephen Thompson was kind of considered at the top of the division. Belal Muhammad was fighting unranked guys or guys at the bottom of the division. So I picked Stephen Thompson to beat Belal, but after what he did to Stephen Thompson, I kind of was on the Belal train. So I picked Vicente Luque, and he did beat up Vicente Luque. He avenged that loss. That was a big win for him, because he had been knocked out by Vicente Luque before. And I think this fight kind of marked the beginning of the decline of Vicente Luque. But he does a great performance against Vicente, beats him up kind of the same way that he beats up Stephen Thompson, where it's like a grappling heavy approach. Then he comes in, fights against Sean Brady, which is the fight that we just watched. And in that fight, I was firmly believing that Belal was going to win. I think he was the slight underdog again. Let's take a look. And yeah, I thought he was just going to get it done. I was not impressed with Sean Brady against Michael Chiesa, where he kind of did nothing. Belal was the plus 120 underdog. So again, an underdog. Then against Gilbert Burns, I believe he was another underdog there too. What are you saying? Nah, I just do, but also believe Leon will win this weekend by decision, might be split. Well, yeah, I'm going to form my opinion after rewatching all of these fights, but I'm kind of leaning towards Leon at the moment. But I'm definitely open to have my mind changed on that. In terms of who I like better, I actually like Belal Muhammad way better than Leon Edwards. I like his personality more. I like what he stands for in terms of charity, being an actual ally towards the Palestinians versus the vast majority of the fighters that are just completely ignoring it. And I also like the way he fights more. I think his fights against opponents are way more interesting than Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards, in my opinion, is a point fighter, and I think Leon Edwards fights to the level of his competition. So if he's fighting someone like Nate Diaz, he's just going to kind of cruise and be content with winning against them in terms of points. Whereas Belal Muhammad will always take the path that is available to him to win the fight no matter what. Whether that path is standing or wrestling, he doesn't really fight to the level of his opponents. He just fights in the way that's going to win him the fight. Leon Edwards always kind of likes to have the fight be a slow pace where he can just stand on the outside and pick you apart, which he's very good at, but I don't think that's very entertaining. Let's watch their first fight. Let's watch Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. Okay, here. Where is it? Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 1, courtesy of the UFC's free fights. So this was in 2020, and let's just get some notes going on right here. So they come out, Leon's actually the one pressing forwards. So far, nothing's really happening. Leon is in the southpaw stance, actually, in this fight. Leon throws a head kick. Belal blocks it with his right hand and elbow. And body kick from Leon. Leon switching stances right here. And we saw Belal pressure forwards against Leon, and again, Leon's footwork is actually really good, and so is his defense, and he's just not there for Belal to hit him. So what have we really seen from Belal so far? Just kind of some roaming right hand, or left hand jabs. He was just kind of like sticking his hand out there, trying to land, throwing the right hand, following it up. Leon's just too quick on his feet. He's moving away, and he's not even there to be hit. And that body kick from Leon has been landing against Belal. Now, I do think that Belal is a much better fighter now than he was back then, but I think you can say the same thing about Leon Edwards. Maybe not as improved as Belal is, but he has been improving as well. I think a big part of the improvement from Leon is just polishing up his striking and working on his grappling too. And we have seen that Leon is going to be willing to engage in the clinch and grapple the quote-unquote wrestlers, but so he is probably going to be willing to engage in the grappling with Belal. He might actually get Belal into some awkward positions. So Leon just throws a head kick, lands. Belal's wobbled, but Belal actually has a pretty good chin. Like against Vicente Luque, who's a very hard hitter at welterweight, he didn't even really get knocked out cold to the point where he was slumped. He got dropped for sure, but he was kind of just like in a daze on the ground. So I think Belal's chin is actually really good. And he's just a tough guy. Like I don't think he's going to be KO'd by Leon Edwards in this fight. And even in this, like people are making a lot of the head kick. He was slightly wobbled for like 10 seconds, blocking all of Leon Edwards' attacks. It's fine. I think Belal has to outwork Leon to win, but I don't see how he does that. I feel like he can't stay on the outside and must pressure, which will be risky. Straight combinations to takedowns. Yeah, I agree. He's got to pressure Leon Edwards, but the real issue is that he's not going to be able to pressure Leon Edwards like he did to Sean Brady. When he was pressuring Sean Brady, Sean's footwork is even worse than Belal's footwork, where he just stands there and allows Belal to like throw punches at him. Sure, he's moving, but Belal's able to plant his feet, throw punches, and land punches on Sean Brady. That's not going to work against Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is much too quick with his footwork, moving around the cage, and he has better defense than Sean Brady. So I think the biggest issue of this fight is going to be like, how is Belal going to make Leon Edwards work? I 100% agree with you, Sam. Where it's like you just see this all the time. You see like Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. Colby Covington calls himself the cardio king. Okay, that's fine. You might have better cardio than Leon Edwards. Oh, perfect fighter to talk about this as well. Marlon Cheeto Vera. A lot of people actually picked Cheeto Vera to beat Sean O'Malley because they're like, oh, well, Cheeto Vera, he runs like 20 miles for fun before breakfast. His cardio is insane. He's going to be able to tire Sean O'Malley out and beat him up once Sean O'Malley's tired. Exactly the same thing people were talking about Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. But the issue is, you can have all the cardio advantage in the world. It's not going to matter if you don't tire out your opponent. And Marlon Vera was not able to tire out Sean O'Malley because Sean O'Malley has enough cardio to fight backwards for 25 minutes. Leon Edwards has enough cardio to skate along the outside of the cage and pick you apart for 25 minutes. And if you're not going to be able to put a pace on them and make them move more than what they've been practicing in the gym, or clinch them up and make them continuously stand up where you take them down over and over again and tire them out that way, your cardio advantage isn't going to matter. So can Belal get to the takedowns? Can he make Leon Edwards move more than he's comfortable with? I think the answer to the second part of that question is no. I don't think Belal's footwork and movement is going to be enough to really force Leon Edwards out of his comfort zone on the feet and make him get exhausted moving backwards. What you see that a lot in like the Dana White's Contender Series guys, where they're these low-level fighters and they can become exhausted because they're not used to fighting backwards, and they have an opponent that will just continuously come forwards. That's like 90% of the guys Mike Perry has beaten, where he just walks forwards, he eats punches, and then his opponents get tired. Those are like bottom of the barrel UFC guys. That really doesn't work against high-level UFC fighters unless they're kind of garbage in terms of their cardio. I don't think Belal Muhammad really has the striking acumen nor the footwork to tire out Leon Edwards that way. But I can see Belal Muhammad winning. I can see him winning rounds and winning the fight by just saying fuck it and really just wrestle fucking Leon Edwards as hard as possible to the point where Edwards is exhausted. And the issue there is that Edwards has actually good cardio, but we have seen him get exhausted before due to wrestling in his fights. So I was actually kind of surprised that Leon Edwards arguably lost the 5th round to Colby Covington due to kind of giving up in the 5th round. Like, that was such a shutout performance in all aspects of the fight until round 5 when Leon Edwards takes Colby down, and then Colby's able to reverse it and actually ends the fight. He ends like the last minute of the fight on top of Leon Edwards throwing, Colby Covington style shit ground and pound. So that was really surprising to me, and it was very reminiscent of the first Kamaru Usman fight where Leon was exhausted there. And I know that a lot of people chalk that up to elevation, but you have to think like Leon was exhausted due to the elevation, and he was able to neutralize Kamaru's wrestling to the extent where Herb Dean stood them up and had them continue the fight on the feet. So that was just kind of a surprising juxtaposition there, where like, did Leon Edwards just give up the last minute of the round because he knew he had won the majority of the fight and he didn't really care? Or like, was he truly exhausted and couldn't do anything against Colby there? kind of an interesting question to ponder when you're thinking about will Belal's cardio, and I think it's going to have to be cardio solely in the grappling, is it going to be enough to tire out Leon Edwards and have him win the fight? Well, let's just continue this because I do think that it's important. Something that I was something that I would listen to was, and I don't like listening to too much analysts talk about these fights before I make my own prediction, but I did listen to Laura Sanko talking with Dean Thomas, and they're like, Leon Edwards is so deadly in the clinch. I'm like, what is he? So that's something that I'm going to be looking for during this, because I don't remember Leon Edwards being that deadly in the clinch. I know he has a good clinch game, like good takedown defense, throws knees, and a good way to stand up, but is he that deadly? Leon just landed a really nice 1-2 on Belal there. Belal's jab actually landed on Leon. One thing that would be interesting to think about is everyone's going to be expecting Belal to be pressuring Leon Edwards in this fight. But if the roles are reversed, I honestly think that favors Belal, because we saw Belal do such good wrestling work against Vicente Luque and Wonderboy, where they were pressing forwards on him, and he was able to duck underneath their strikes and go for takedowns. Yeah, I think he's extremely efficient in the clinch, which is great for his energy conservation and defending takedowns, but I wouldn't say he's lethal. Like, I don't think that if you're clinching with Leon Edwards, you're in a dangerous spot. Yeah, that body kick from Leon Edwards is there. Funnily enough, people don't talk about this, but Leon did poke Belal in the eye with like a minute and a half left of round 1. So he poked him in the eye twice. Also, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not a huge fan of Leon Edwards' personality. He was demanding a title fight off of beating Nate Diaz when he had, I think he had only beaten one ranked welterweight that was in the UFC at the time, which is fine. But then he's also like, which it's fine, I'm not a huge fan of that. But then he's also saying, oh, I was beating Belal, so why should I have to rematch him? Like, I just don't love that. He does act a little bit entitled in these fights for not even putting up spectacular performances. And basically, I don't really like it when fighters fight to the level of their competition. Like, if you feel like you're so much better than a guy like Nate Diaz, you should be able to put him away. That's what I think. And if your philosophy is I'm just going to be slightly better than my opponent, then you shouldn't act entitled to anything. Just keep fighting the people that the UFC puts in front of you until they're forced to give you a title shot. Yeah, that was a fucking horrible eye poke from Leon Edwards, and he acts like he's completely innocent in this. Belal's just writhing around on the ground there. Let's watch the replay. Puts that left hand out there to throw the body kick. Yeah, he seems like a good guy. Like, I think he's done some charity work in Jamaica. I'm not, like, I don't hate the guy or anything, but I do think that he can act entitled sometimes. And his fighting style really doesn't make up for that at all. Doesn't really help with it. All right, let's watch him fight Colby Covington. So I'm just going to throw this in the notes. Leon's body kick lands, and then his head kick is going to be land. All right, let's watch this fight with Covington. So they come out. Let's fast forward. Okay, here we go. So yeah, I love the narrative that, if Kamaru Usman wasn't in the welterweight division, then Colby Covington would be the champion, which I do find hilarious. Covington's greatest claim to fame is that He had two close fights with Kamaru Usman, both of which he lost. So Covington comes out, he throws a stomp kick onto Edwards' knee. He's thrown a few of those now. He's thrown some leg kicks. That front kick up the middle from Edwards has landed twice right onto Covington's body. Covington switching stances, getting pressured by Leon Edwards. And yeah, I actually do think it's going to favor Belal if Leon is the one pressuring forwards. Head kick from Covington, Leon Edwards, ducking down. He's switching stances himself, but he definitely seems to favor that left foot forward orthodox stance. Just pressuring right now. Covington's trying to kick that leg, that lead left leg. Leg kick from Edwards. So those leg kicks are going to be there on Belal for sure, but that's something that Belal's going to have to deal with. And Edwards is such an opportunistic guy where he'll kind of take anything that you give him to pull ahead on the scorecards. That he's definitely going to be targeting that leg, and we really haven't seen Belal throw any good leg kick defense. Now, he might be able to try to go for takedowns off of those leg kicks, similar to what Khabib did to Gaethje. But the fact is, Leon Edwards is very quick with his strikes, and he's good at hiding them, so I don't think that those are going to be super easy for Belal to get. You know what? Maybe I'll speed these fights up. It's going to take a while to get through all of these. I'll go at 1.25 speed. Couple of exchanges there from Covington and Edwards. Edwards is, he does such a good job of avoiding punches, coming back with his own. That's kind of like the point fighting style of Leon. Leon definitely embodies fighting to the level of your opponent more than anyone else I can think of. Yeah, I think so. Just how do you go from barely beating Nate Diaz to beating Kamaru Usman? How do you go from that if you're not fighting to the level of your opponent? And I think just the definition of fighting to the level of your opponent is you just, in your mind, you do enough to where in your mind you're beating your opponent, and then you're content with that. And this does kind of relate to something that's been annoying me, where people will talk about Leon Edwards' greatest comeback was against Kamaru Usman. And I don't know. I don't really consider that a comeback, even though he was down on the scorecards. He threw one kick to the head. What I like to see in a comeback is you switch up your style, and then that leads you to an avenue to success, where Leon Edwards had to get lucky enough where Herb Dean decided to separate Usman from him in the clinch. And then he threw a beautiful kick. I'm nothing taking away from that kick, but he also had to rely on Usman taking his foot off the gas and just letting Leon take the center of the cage instead of just spamming takedowns on him again. Those takedowns were working on Leon Edwards. And Usman decided to just be I'm just going to chill. There's only 120 seconds left of this fight. I'm not going to really do anything. And so he had to have two people give him that opportunity. And then everyone in that fight acted like Leon Edwards' corner hyped him up to the point where Leon went out there and made it happen. And Leon was fighting the exact same way after that "don't let him bully you, son" speech that his corner was giving him. His corner was giving him that speech at the end of every round after round 2 when he started losing and started getting tired out. So people acting like that speech caused some spark to ignite inside of Leon Edwards is actually ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't an adaptation that Leon Edwards made. It was just an opening that was presented to him. And you can't take anything away from Leon Edwards for taking advantage of that opening, but he was I am going to say he was very lucky. He's not lucky that the kick landed, but he was lucky that he had the opportunity to throw that kick. Anyway, great round from Leon Edwards. Defended a takedown from Colby. He was able to land good leg kicks on Colby, landing good jabs, good right hands, slipping Colby's strikes. He was really able to just get Colby's rhythm and his distance in that first round. So here we have Colby throwing a right hand. Colby is a southpaw, so he's throwing that right hand as a jab, and Edwards is trying to pull away from it, counter it with a right hook or left hook combo of his own. So every time Colby has his right leg forward, Leon Edwards is kicking the hell out of it. And Leon is mirroring Colby's stance. So we'll see if Colby switches stances, will Leon switch stances? So Leon switched to orthodox right now. It definitely seems like Leon favors that orthodox stance. Now he's in southpaw. I think that he likes to be in the same stance as Colby, because if he's not, then that lead stomp kick to the knee for Colby is there. Yeah, so Colby will throw like a jab or a stomp kick, and then Leon will counter it with a leg kick of his own that just lands cleaner. And I think that is like Leon's style of tit for tat, fighting to the level of his opponent, which Belal does too. Belal likes to, get one back whenever he's hit with one, which is a really good mindset to have. But I think that Belal does go for it a little bit more. He'll go for the finish. He'll impact the fight a little bit more than Leon Edwards will. Leon is almost like 100% reactive, and when he has opportunities to throw something that he thinks will land, he'll throw it, but he doesn't really like to force things that much. He likes to play this little game where he's floating on the outside of his opponent and landing shots that he can see. And then when his opponent will do something and will land a shot, then he'll try to counter that with a shot of his own. So again, just more of the same. He's countering Colby with shots. He's throwing jabs to the body. He's throwing leg kicks. He is in the southpaw stance, so he's shown an ability to fight out of both stances, which I think that's going to be very annoying for Belal. He's doing a great job of keeping Colby back with push kicks to the body, jabs to the body, kicking Colby's leg whenever Colby gets a little too aggressive. And Leon has really good defense too. Checking Colby's kicks without even really thinking about it, avoiding Colby's head strikes and throwing back with strikes of his own. Teep kick from Colby. Yeah, Leon's just moving out of the way of all of these strikes from Colby. So Colby will throw a push kick up to Leon's stomach, and he'll just move away from it, swipe it away with his right hand. I just don't think Belal really has that kind of movement where he's able to float away from these strikes. Belal's super heavy on his lead leg, which makes it hard for him defensively and offensively, because it makes it hard for him to track his opponent down. Colby had no options in this fight. The way he was approaching it, technically outmatched. Lead leg chewed up from the same stance, open side being blasted in opposite stance. Yeah, that's definitely true. Colby just doesn't have... If Colby doesn't have his grappling, he doesn't have that many tools on the feet. Even against Kamaru Usman, he was kind of just bar brawling. Just toughing it out, trying to throw shots back at Usman. and trying to Mike Perry it a little bit. So here goes for takedown. Leon Edwards beautifully stuffed and then lands a right hand of his own. Body kick from Colby going in for the takedown again. Yeah, that teep kick from Leon Edwards is deadly. I definitely think that teep kick's going to be landing on Belal. I just want to watch this fight because I want to see the success that Colby's going to have in the grappling. So we're in round 3 now. Yeah, I want to see what I'd like to see from Colby in this fight is some reactive takedowns. Leon Edwards is the one pressuring him, and I know Leon is he's a very cautious fighter, but if you're able to let Leon pressure you like this, try to use it to your advantage by ducking underneath some of his strikes and getting some takedowns on him. Even if you're just ending up in the clinch and he gets out of it, that's another thing that he's going to be thinking about when he's pressuring you. And maybe he's not going to be as hesitant, or maybe he'll be a little bit more hesitant to pressure you. There we go. Right hand from Colby, and he actually gets it. So he did get this takedown because he had Leon Edwards up against the cage. So this, I think, is a flaw in Leon Edwards' game that Belal's going to be able to take advantage of. So Leon was pressed up against the cage by Colby, and instead of just defending the takedown, he tried to do like a sweep / reversal on Colby, where he almost tried to take his back. And you can see he's able to get up immediately and throws a head kick on Colby. He has a very good guard game. Then he goes for a takedown of himself, and I think that's actually quite hilarious. Like, he's chewing up Colby Covington for 12 minutes of the fight. Colby goes for a takedown, and then Leon's like, let me go for a takedown of my own. Which is funny. Like, he does have some pride to him, but instead of finishing his opponents, he feels like the greatest thing he can do is beat them at their own game. And we can see that this does kind of backfire on Leon Edwards later in the fight, where he starts to get exhausted, and Colby actually wins the last minute and a half of the grappling. That leg kick from Colby is actually landing pretty well. Colby's a very flat-footed fighter as well. I would say he's even more flat-footed than Belal. Just standing there in front of Leon, throwing punches from way out of range. Colby's range was horrible in this fight. Like, I wanted to make a video. I never ended up making it, but yeah, I wanted to make a video of just how bad Colby's range was in this fight. Like, he's throwing punches that have no hope of landing, especially against a guy as good of footwork as Leon Edwards. But, like, even then, you could have just stood still, and some of those 1-2s that Colby's throwing wouldn't have landed at all. Just, yeah, pretty bad striking from Colby in general in this fight. I suppose you have to explain the Colby/Diaz last round with Leon mentally slipping when he's ahead in that point fighting mindset. Yeah, I don't know. I think Leon gets a little bit comfortable in there, which I can't really blame him when he's able to pick apart his opponents that cleanly. But you do have to keep in mind, like, Leon should know this better than anyone, that anything can happen in MMA. He was down 3-1 against Kamaru Usman, and he landed that head kick. So I do think that there's a bit of ego in this, where Leon feels like he doesn't need to finish his opponents, he just needs to prove that he's better than them, and that's going to satisfy his ego. So against Colby Covington, he's able to take Covington down. He's not ever going for the finish. Like, he could have kept it on the feet, and that's probably the best path to victory. Like, you're not going to finish Colby Covington on the ground. Like, if you take Colby down, you're not going to finish him on the ground. He's a better wrestler than you. And you're not going to ground and pound him from his guard or submit him. So that's purely an ego takedown. And it's not even like it's an easier way to win the round, because you're just cruising to a victory on the feet. Yeah, the Colby one is specifically, I think, his pride. And I think that against Nate Diaz, he just gets into kind of like a cruising mentality where, oh, I'm so much better than this person, I'm not going to really worry about it. And then he gets hit with that one too. Now, maybe I'm overreacting. I think for sure the Colby Covington one is pride, where he's going for takedowns on Colby. He's trying to wrestle the wrestler. And then maybe in the Nate Diaz one, it's just like he got hit by a really good one too. Anyone can get hit by that. Now that power guillotine that Leon Edwards just hit Colby with to defend the takedown, that was pretty sweet. No hate there. Like, he has good takedown defense. I just wish that Colby wrestled a little bit more in this fight. I know he was like, oh, Leon Edwards was in a different stance that I didn't train to grapple with, which is such a bullshit excuse. Yeah, great counter for that right hand from Leon. And I think that this fight, I think, is the perfect fight to explain Leon's mentality in the fight, where he's picking apart Colby. Colby's landing shots on him, or whenever Colby throws a shot, he counters the shot. And that's exactly what Leon Edwards wants to do. This is the quintessential Leon Edwards fight, where he's grappling Colby whenever Colby grapples him. Colby goes for a takedown, he tries to take Colby's back. Colby gets him down, Leon Edwards gets back up, takes Colby down. Colby goes for another takedown. Instead of just defending the takedown, he goes for like a power one-armed guillotine choke and tries to choke Colby out, making him bail away from it. It's all of these tit for tat exchanges where Leon Edwards let's be honest, he's getting the better of Colby Covington in all of these exchanges, while also continuously able to find these opportunities to land little damaging shots here and there. They're not going to be too much, they're not going to be fight ending, but he's, over the course of now 3.5 rounds, he's broken up Colby's right leg. He's landed a lot of good kicks to the body and punches to the face. Colby Covington's feeling hurt. He's feeling tired. He's tired of getting his jaw cracked. This is the Leon Edwards fight where he can slow the pace down enough where he's able to isolate all of these things that Colby Covington does on him, and then he's able to not only land back, but land better than his opponents. Leon Edwards does pride himself on being a real technical fighter, and he's succeeded in making that a title that people can give him for good reason. So we're at a minute left of round 4 right now. Colby Covington, I think I'm actually going to pull up stats for this fight because I'm really curious to see how many takedowns Colby Covington attempted on Leon. Let's go here. Covington versus Leon stats. So in 30 seconds, Colby does get him down. He's kind of on his back and he's throwing ground and pound. And Leon Edwards gets up and then goes for an attack of his own. So takedowns, Covington got 2 of 10. So that was 10 takedown attempts on Leon Edwards. That's... Man, the thing is, like, having 10 takedowns attempted on you isn't like saying, oh, I stopped 80% of your takedowns. I stopped 8 out of the 10 takedowns. That's impressive, but like the fact that he was able to get 10 takedown attempts on him is not super amazing too, because every time you're defending the takedown, you're getting a little bit more tired. He's pressing you up against the cage. Even if you're successfully defending the takedown, a lot of the times the judges are going to score that against you because you're being held up against the cage. Now, some of these takedown attempts were just Colby running at him, Leon like being a matador, like judo, throwing him out of the side. But some of them, Colby's holding Leon up against the cage, and he's ticking down the clock. I think the fact that Colby got 10 takedown attempts on Leon Edwards is something that Belal's going to be able to exploit. I think Belal's going to have to turn into a welterweight version of Merab in this fight. to really have any success of winning. And even if Belal wants to strike with Leon Edwards, which he obviously is going to have to do, he should only do it on like interspersions between takedown attempts, pretty much. The striking should be after a failed takedown or before another takedown attempt. That's what Belal's striking should be, in my opinion. Because you can't let Leon Edwards dictate the pace of this fight. If Leon is dictating the pace of the fight, you're not going to beat him in this tit-for-tat game. There we go. Covington got another takedown on Edwards. So I'm going to slow this down and actually take a look at how he got it. So I'm going to rewind this. And I'll actually put it on the screen and play it in slow motion. Should Belal intentionally come out hot in early rounds to throw off Leon's tempo? If he just lingers, Leon will beg the early rounds. At the same time, I don't think he should show his hand too early. I'll say this. I don't think he should play the tit-for-tat, feel-out game against Leon Edwards. I think that is a recipe for failure. And you're right. Not only will, doing the tit-for-tat stuff let Leon pick up on Belal's pace and fighting style, but it will end up losing him rounds. So I'm just going to take a look at this takedown attempt here. Let's take a look at the entrance from Colby. So Leon stepping forward. I'm going to throw off this clock. Here. Okay, here we go. So Covington just what the heck? Alright, gotta rewind this. So Covington just kind of goes for the takedown and gets it. Let's just take a look one more time. So Leon's throwing. So he's just trying to post on Covington, and he gets underneath Leon's hand. And again, I think this is a reason where if Leon's pressuring Belal, those takedowns are going to be open for Belal, because it's not the best entrance in the world, but Covington ducks underneath Leon's outstretched left hand, his lead hand. He ducks underneath it, and he grabs Leon's ankle with his right hand. And he's able to essentially treetop him. So all he has is his ankle right now. He's reaching for Leon's right leg, but he doesn't get it. Leon's pulling it away, but then he just switches to the treetop, and let's see how he finishes this. Leon stepping up, and nice. So it's just a treetop / kind of trip, and Covington gets Leon down. So good takedown, and it wasn't even too complicated in terms of how he actually got to the takedown. And this is round 5, so we'll see what happens. Covington gets him down. Leon scoots to the cage. Covington has a body lock right now, threatening to take the back position. Leon reaches around, puts the whizzer in. Covington is fighting the whizzer right now. Leon puts it back in. So even when he gets taken down, Leon is actually very good at, not letting anything happen to him on the ground. Even against Kamaru Usman in their first fight. This was really cool. So Leon's fighting the hands. He gets the hands broken and then goes in for a body lock of his own, which is actually good takedown defense. But I think at that point he should just disengage with Covington. But he gets Covington to the ground. Covington is beaten up. His legs are battered. He's tired at this point. Leon gets his hooks in. Covington fights the hooks. Covington gets one of the hooks out. Leon's trying to get it back in. He has a seatbelt grip on Covington right now. Leon transitions to try to take mount. Now he's in a triangle position on Covington. Very good grappling off of his back, and I think that, like, that's the thing that we're not really talking about, is we're assuming, if Belal can get it to the ground, he has the advantage. But Leon Edwards is very good off of his back. So Belal isn't going to be able to do that much. Okay, so Leon was going for a triangle attempt / armbar. Covington gets out of it. There's 2.5 minutes left of round 5. Colby is in his full guard right now. Let's see what Leon does. Because I think this could be a position that we see Belal get way earlier in the fight against Leon. But I do think Belal's going to be able to get the fight to the ground. I do think he's going to be able to get it to the cage. Leon Edwards has great takedown defense. He has great grappling, and he has great striking. But he hasn't shown too much of a great ability to stop his opponents from getting takedowns. Like, I just remember the Usman fight, technically the third one, the one that happened in England, where Usman's just like standing at punching range with Leon. Then he just dips his head down and grabs a leg and gets a takedown. Like, Leon doesn't have, I don't know, sometimes he just has mental lapses where his takedown defense is not that great. Colby's actually doing a really good job on the ground here of controlling Leon. He went from full guard to half guard, and he is landing little pitter-patter shots on Leon on his head. Like, I think there's a very strong case you can make that Leon Edwards won this round. Do these stats have the score on it? Let me see. And again, for as dominant a fight this was for Leon, he only outlanded Colby by 13 strikes. Not great. Not great at all. Let's take a look. Leon versus Colby scorecards. 49-46. So the judges all scored it 49-46. So they did give Colby round 5, which is crazy. Like, you shit the bed and you lost this round. If it was a close fight, like, what are you doing? And again, this does show that as good as Leon's anti-grappling is, as good as his footwork is, as good as his game on the ground is and his get-up game, if he gets on his back with a dominant wrestler on top of him, he does lose rounds. Like, objectively, he loses rounds. He doesn't have elevation that he can use as an excuse for this. He just shit the bed. He got on his back, and I think we were kind of talking about his mentality going into the fight, and I was saying, maybe in that round he just decided that he's not going to exert the energy to get up because he felt like he already won the fight. To me, it looked like he was exerting the energy to get up, and he just couldn't get up. I think against a very good wrestler, if they get into a good position on Leon Edwards, it's going to be difficult for him to get up. And even if he does it once, it's going to be even harder to get up the second time, even harder the third time. And I think that is a path to victory against Leon Edwards. Yeah, Belal definitely has to rob him. All right, what fight do we have next? So that was Leon versus Colby. Let's just write it in the notes. Leon does get all right. Sure, let's watch these highlights from Belal Muhammed and Vicente Luque. We'll see how good Belal does at wrestle-fucking him. Yeah, to me it definitely looked like Leon was trying to get up against Covington. Covington just did a good job of holding him down. Okay, so here we have a bit of a reckless striker in Vicente Luque coming up against Belal, and he's pressuring forwards a lot. I think this is going to be reminiscent. I think this is going to be something that this is going to be like a style of fight that we see Belal do against Leon, where Leon's a striker and he's going to be pressing forwards up against Belal. And okay, over the course of the stream, I have changed my mind. I don't think that Belal is going to be pressuring forwards against Leon. And the reason I think that is because against strikers that he thinks he's better than, Leon Edwards actually pushes forward or at least takes the center of the cage. I think if Belal Muhammad pressures Leon, just in terms of the striking, I think he's definitely going to have to pressure him in terms of the grappling. But in terms of the striking, if he pressures Leon like what he did to Sean Brady, that's a recipe for Belal to lose. He's going to be hit way too much. He's not going to have the right footing to get away from Leon Edwards' shots. He's going to be really heavy on his lead leg, making it easy for him to get hit. He even got hit a lot against Sean Brady. We also saw Leon Edwards having really good range definers in his toolbox, such as his push kick up the middle, which will land on body, those leg kicks, also his jabs and his right hands. Belal's going to have to be really hesitant to get inside of that range that Leon Edwards is going to be able to land leg kicks on him. So I think Leon Edwards is going to be pressing forwards against Belal. We also have seen Belal be willing to play this game where he's kind of being the defensive fighter against strikers that are technical or more powerful. So I think we are going to see Leon Edwards pressing forwards against Belal, and I think that's the best spot for Belal to be in. If I was Leon Edwards, I would or if I was his coach or whatever, I would probably have him just be in the center of the cage because that's the easiest for him to defend takedowns on. And if he's moving too far forwards, I do see that being kind of an opening for Belal to duck underneath his punches and get the takedowns, which we might see against Vicente Luque. Let me see if I can find a spot here. So perfect, right here. So we'll put this in 0.25 speed and just go over this takedown. And this is exactly what I was talking about, where Vicente Luque is coming forward, throws a shot immediately. Leon Edwards isn't going to be as close to Belal as Luque is in this position, but it's the same, pretty much the exact same thing, where Belal is just ducking underneath, easy takedown. He's in so deep. That's the exact same position we saw Covington in on Leon Edwards, where he had this right hand or this left hand back here, his right hand. He had it further down and he was able to treetop him, but let's just see what Belal does here. He just drives forward, trips this leg, gets his fighter down. And I think that takedown is going to be there against Leon Edwards. All right. Let's just continue watching these highlights. Don't need to watch too much of this fight. It was a while ago, and against a lower level opponent, so we're not going to be able to glean too much information that we can use. But we can see what kind of grappling he has. So Vicente Luque gets back up. Belal's going for it. Vicente Luque essentially gets him off of him. And I do think we're going to see Leon Edwards be able to get up from Belal's grappling. So Vicente kind of stops pressuring there, but it was at the end of the round. Yeah, and we are seeing Vicente Luque tracking Belal Muhammad, landing shots on him as Belal's trying to be defensive. What Belal's doing, he's doing a fairly decent job in this fight of doing what Islam is great at, in my opinion, where Islam will always be moving backwards. He'll be moving backwards, and then he'll move forward and land a good left hand or a strong combination on his opponents. That's something that Belal is doing, where you're not countering your opponent by drawing a strike out of them and then countering that opening that the strike creates. But what you are doing is almost countering their forward pressure. And you're lulling them into a false sense of security where you're going to be moving backwards and then suddenly you're there landing a big strike on them. So let's see if I can find an example of this. Oh yeah, here we go. Where Vicente's pressuring, and then all of a sudden, Belal moves forward and lands that 1-2 on him. And yeah, that sounds okay. So we're actually able to see some good striking work from Belal Muhammad. Yeah, again, like Bilal's actually doing a really good job of having Vicente Luque walk into him, and then he's actually landing with that right hand, landing with a jab, or having Vicente Luque walk into him and then going for the takedown. Leon Edwards isn't going to be able. It's not going to be as easy to do that against Leon because Leon has way more tools in his toolbox than Vicente Luque. He's also more defensively sound. Leon's not going to just be walking forwards trying to land like a right hook or a left hook. He's going to be landing leg kicks on Belal. He's going to be landing push kicks up the middle, jabs. It's going to be much harder for him to actually land. It's going to be harder for Belal to land good shots on him. Belal has a pretty good clinch game in this highlight reel that we're watching. Yeah, he just is doing a good job of actually staying pretty defensively sound against Vicente Luque and landing good shots of his own. Good elbow from Belal there too. I think Leon Edwards is going to be throwing elbows when they're in the clinch, as is Belal. And here we have Belal going for more of a clinch game on Luque. Luque is able to defend it, but Luque's landing some good strikes on Belal. Is it going to be enough? Good 1-2 from Belal there. Again, that right hand, that right cross is good. Counters a knee up the middle that Luque threw with a takedown. And Luque is able to get up, though. Yeah, Leon. I definitely think Leon's going to be able to get back up. We're going to watch the Gilbert Burns fight that Muhammad had after this. His most recent fight. And then I do want to watch the Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3 fight, the one that happened in England. And then I'll probably call the stream, maybe make a prediction. Who are my top 3 favorite fighters right now? Man, that's a tough question. I'll probably just go off of who I find the most entertaining to break down their style. Which, I mean, right now it definitely has to be Alex Pereira because, first of all, I love his personality. I love breaking down his fights. I think that his fighting style is so simple and yet it really leaves a lot of it's simple in the fact that you can identify things that he does really well. And I think that's actually like misleading to people because a lot of fighters actually just have a few things that they do. It's just that Alex Pereira's few things that he does are so impactful on his opponents that they really make people pay attention to them. And since there's so much focus on those few things, people assume that it's a simple game, but it's really not any more simple than the average fighter. And he's able to put together these few things that kind of everyone knows about into such a great game that's been deadly effective. It's the leg kicks, it's the body jab, obviously the left hook that everyone loves talking about, but then all of the things that surround those two that make those 3 things really stand out is what's interesting to it. Like the head kick, all of the takedown defense, his grappling that he's been working on, all of the head movement that he's been employing now, where he's able to like find different ways to land these strikes. And I think that's what makes it so enjoyable to watch his fights and to break down, is the fact that he's coming up with games around his game, kind of. Like, I need to make this video, but the Jamal Hill KO, there's a video of Alex showing Nina Drama on his YouTube channel about how to throw the left hook, and he throws it in the exact same way that he threw it on Jamal Hill. All right. So Alex Pereira is really interesting. I like breaking down Israel Adesanya. I think Ilia Topuria is one of my favorite fighters for kind of the same reason, where he's so skilled, but he has kind of a limited tool set. So he's probably one of my favorite fighters to watch right now and to analyze. I think Dustin Poirier is also a fighter that I love analyzing, because he's kind of in that same category where he has kind of a limited amount of tools that he uses, but he's able to use those tools very effectively, like his leg kick, his boxing. I don't know, there's something about his boxing that I just love, where like he does the shift stance where he'll throw his left hook, shift into his right hook. Even the grappling, like his fights against Conor McGregor were awesome. His fights against Benoit Saint Denis. Even the Islam Makhachev fight was sweet. So those might be my top three right now: Alex Pereira, Poirier, and Ilia Topuria. But I'm probably, just like off the top of my head, they're the most recent ones that I've fought. Probably forgetting a lot of great ones. Guess if we go over the rankings, you have like heavyweights, not a huge fan of right now. Light heavyweights. One of the fights that I desperately want to see is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. That's going to be great. Middleweights, they kind of suck. Like, they're just all meatheads, and then you have Adesanya in there. So Adesanya is probably my favorite middleweight. Welterweight, Leon Edwards, he's great. I don't love his fighting style. I love the fact that he's like arguably the best fighter in the world right now. Well, at least at welterweight. And then lightweights, Islam Makhachev, I love his fighting style, but in terms of watching him and analyzing him, he's not my favorite because he's just so good. Like, I'm always going to be picking him. If he moves up to welterweight and then you have that added question of size, that's going to kind of change the conversation a little bit in terms of if he's my favorite fighter. But yeah, in just talking about breaking down the fights, Islam is definitely not like my favorite fighter right now. All right, so we have Gilbert Burns versus Belal Muhammad. Both of these guys took this fight on short notice. So Belal Muhammad had been coming off of his win against Sean Brady. Let's actually take a look. Was he the underdog in this fight? If we go here. And this was his most recent fight too, so this is kind of an important one to talk about. So Belal was again the underdog, and I don't know, I don't even want to know the odds, but I think that's hilarious. He's been the slight underdog in all of these fights. Okay, so we'll watch this. Belal's pressuring forward a little bit, obviously coming off of a stoppage win with his hands. He's going to be a little bit more willing to engage in the striking. And this is the fight that I'm really looking forward to watching, because I think this is probably Belal's best striking match. He's landed a few good jabs on Burns. He's actually been doing a good job of tracking Burns as Burns has been moving around. Throws the left head kick. That is a head kick that Belal will throw a lot, so it's his lead leg. And he kind of steps back onto his right leg so he can lift up the lead leg to throw the kick there. What if we get double high kick knockouts from these guys? That'd be awesome. So Gilbert Burns throwing a right hand. Burns really just has like hooks as his main weapon, like left hook, right hook. Belal did a great job moving away from it. I don't love the way Belal Muhammad retreats from attacks. He he really kind of scrambles his feet and moves straight back. It doesn't look like a controlled retreat at all. It's effective, but it could cause him an issue if he's like backed up against the cage and he's retreating straight backwards. Simply because, there's nowhere for him to go. Definitely a better way to retreat would be like an L step retreat where you're going backwards and then off to the side. But Belal's doing a good job against Burns here, throwing jab to the face. And he's avoiding the bigger shots that Gilbert Burns is throwing his way. Belal has actually been the one pressuring Burns. And he hasn't done too much. He's thrown like a few jabs to Burns, countered one of Burns' kicks, which is really nice with a right hook. And Belal's thrown some good kicks of his own, throwing a head kick. That body kick that he just threw was nice. So Belal just throws a kick, Burns counters it with a takedown. Belal's up immediately. I definitely can see Leon Edwards trying to take Belal down. I just don't think it's going to end super well for him. I really like this body kick that Belal's throwing. Is it going to have an effect on Leon Edwards at all? Okay, jab from Belal there. A little bit of hand fighting. Gilbert Burns is almost the opposite style of fighter as Leon Edwards is, where Burns isn't super technical on the... He's not super technical on the feet and very good on the ground and is very physical, which is almost the exact opposite of Leon Edwards. So we're not going to get a great taste of the striking here, but we can see a little bit of what Belal is able to do when he's cruising. So that was a body kick that Burns threw. Belal counters it with a jab. It almost looks like an open palm jab. Yeah, Belal is definitely open when he throws that right hand. He gets countered by right hands of his opponents a lot when he's doing that. Yeah, he looked weirdly balanced in the fight. Well, we'll see. So far, he's definitely looking balanced. But I watched this fight once and I never rewatched it because it was kind of boring. But I definitely want to pay closer attention now. That left body kick from Belal has been very nice. It's causing Burns problems. Yeah, he's just like slamming it into Burns' right side. Even if it's hitting the back or the arm, it's causing Burns problems. And I think the story of this fight was that Gilbert Burns broke his hand. What do we have? Did he break his hand? Gilbert Burns versus Belal. Injury. Not only did it set Burns back in the chase towards another title shot, but the veteran welterweight ultimately had to sit out for the past 10 months recovering from a shoulder injury suffered in that fight. Is the knee in round 1? Yeah, so when he got a takedown, he like ripped open his shoulder, right? So, because he kind of fell posted and that ripped his shoulder up. Burns had looked really bad in this fight, though. Like Burns is, he's definitely aging. I don't know. So he down blocked. I came with all my weight plus Muhammed's weight on my shoulder. I smashed into the floor with the shoulder. That's exactly when the injury occurred. Oof. He couldn't do nothing with his left arm. So let's see. I mean, before that, he wasn't doing a whole lot with his left arm either. He stole a close round in the last minute. So all of these texts are saying that, all these Twitter feeds are saying that Belal won the first round. Yeah, Gilbert's body language isn't great in this fight. Okay, left arm. We'll see if he's able to do anything with it. So far, he's like lifting it up to block. He's throwing a faint jab. He just threw a left hook with it. I don't know. Like, I know it's hurting, but he has been using it. Yeah, he's lifting it up to his head. He's lifting his hand up to his head. His left arm is fine. 10 months? What's that? In the grand scheme of things. That head kick from Belal is nice. Gilbert is just so gun shy in this fight. Like, if Gilbert's grappling isn't there for him, I don't know, man. I don't know. This was a weird one. Like, he hasn't really been pressuring forwards at all, trying to land those big hooks. He's been just trying to counter Belal. He's been trying to counter Belal strikes with, like a left hook, right straight. Yeah, like it does kind of seem that way, right? Like he just wasn't really thinking Belal was an opponent worth taking seriously. And then, but he didn't even really try going for anything. I guess he thought he could just land like a big right hook to knock him out. Like he tried going for a takedown and that didn't work. Is that really the extent of Burns' game plan? Go for a takedown. If it doesn't work, kind of don't know what to do. I mean, Bilal's been winning this with just by jabbing Burns, throwing a head kick. Left hand gets through. Countering a right hand from Gilbert with a left hook of his own. That's pretty nice from Belal. Threw a head kick way out of range. Man, Bilal's just fought such different opponents from Leon Edwards that it is hard for me to kind of visualize how the striking is going to go between these two, because Leon doesn't really have a weakness in the striking. Yeah, like Leon, the main reason I'm hesitant in picking Belal Muhammad to win this fight is Leon's so good at finding opportunities to land shots, and Belal presents his opponents with a lot of those opportunities. Like, I just can see Leon picking him apart on the leg kicks, throwing push kicks up the middle. And even when Bilal's kind of putting his foot down in the striking and like landing impactful shots, they're not that impactful, if that makes sense. Like, he's throwing body kicks to Leon Edwards, which is great. He's landed a few good right hands. He even TKO'd Sean Brady with his right hands. He is able to like land some good strikes, but is he really gonna wobble Leon Edwards with a strike? And that's the thing. Like, I think Bilal's going to have to rob Leon Edwards, but we haven't really seen Belal do that a lot in his fights. Like, even against Vicente Luque, he was striking for a long period of time, and when he was able to get Vicente Luque down, Luque was getting back up to his feet. Ah, man, this might be a bad style matchup for Belal Muhammad, because let's just talk about this. Like, Leon Edwards, he has good takedown defense. So Belal's gonna have to work for the takedowns. He has good striking. I think Belal's going to be losing the striking maybe like 60-40 in terms of. But I mean, Colby Covington only got outstruck by 13 shots. Maybe I'm overrating Leon Edwards. This is a hard one for me to predict. Oh, that happened in round 2. I'm pretty sure the shoulder injury happened this round. All right, I'll show this really quick. I'll show this replay. Yeah, at the end of the day, I definitely have Leon. I mean, it's hard to pick against Leon. We've seen him fight against such good grapplers, and he looked pretty good against them. Is Belal Muhammad going to be able to do what wrestlers like Covington and Kamaru Usman did not do? All right, let's see this. Is this the takedown here? So Belal throws a knee, gets countered. All right, I don't think that was it. Wait, what the heck? Here. I'm pretty sure this is where the injury happened because Gilbert says that Belal down blocked. So Belal throws a knee. Gilbert wraps up his legs. He goes for it. Belal's able to get enough of his footing behind him and lean over Gilbert, so both of their body weight lands onto Gilbert's shoulder right here. That's probably where he ripped it up because he was using his left arm in that round. So yeah, it happened at the end of round 2. I thought that article that I read said it was round 1. All right, well, let's get back into the fight. Yeah, ultimately it is hard to see me. It's hard for me to see Belal Muhammad winning this fight. So if we take a look at this. I didn't know I was injured, but I knew something was happening, so I was trying to take my time. After that, I couldn't do nothing with my left arm. That was maybe... Yes, he said it was in the first round. I'm pretty sure he's wrong about that. Maybe just making excuses, because he did lose round 1 and 2. Yeah, it looks like it's injured now because he's, kind of hanging it down limp. All right, let's see if he uses his left arm here. I feel like Joe Rogan trying to clock an injury that one of the fighters did. All right. I do want to finish this fight, though. Maybe I'll speed it up a little bit, 1.25. Yeah, I'll do this one. I'll do Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3, and then call it. So we have Belal still pressuring. I mean, he's throwing out his jab, but it's not even getting close to landing. Yeah, I think Gilbert's left arm is kind of fucked now because he's not doing anything with it. Alright, so let's... this is... In this scenario, I do want to see more from Belal because he has an opponent that's just completely unwilling to move forward and throw anything at all. And he's still kind of getting outworked with, leg kicks and right hooks. I definitely... Alright, thanks for stopping by, Sam. Might be doing streams later in the future, too. Yeah, I definitely want to see more from Belal. He's trying to land that right hand. He is landing the jab a little bit. He's landing that right hand when Gilbert Burns is going off to the right. So Gilbert Burns is moving into that right hand side and Belal's landing it. Belal also was throwing some right high kicks, which were nice. So it is good to see that Belal has that ability to, kind of track down his opponents. So when Gilbert's moving into that right hand side, he's throwing the right high kick, throwing the right hand. And his defense is pretty good, but I do just want to see a little bit more from Belal here. Gilbert Burns is throwing shots at him, and he's just moving backwards, avoiding them. I like to see him, avoid them and then try to counter them. That's what Leon Edwards would do in the striking. Man, Bilal's pressure does seem to be very annoying for Gilbert Burns, who has really good cardio. And he's breathing heavy, his nose is bleeding. High kick there from Belal. So I can see him like making Leon Edwards work for it. Yeah, yeah. Gilbert Burns' left arm is done though. He's like trying to shake it out in this round. Body kick from Belal there. He's doing good kicks with both his left and right side. It's going to be a little bit hard to predict this fight too because it's been about like 13 months since Belal last fought, so who knows how his style has changed. Is he going to have ring rust? Is he going to look improved? Like his striking, at this point I'd say his striking isn't good enough to beat Leon Edwards. Man, this is a really hard one to predict. Oh man, think I'm think I'm gonna have to go with Leon Edwards. Like I went over my predictions recently. Let me go over them. Let me go over my predictions. Here we go. So, I've lost a lot of predictions by going with the less technical guy, thinking they can grit it out. And a lot of the time when you go with the less technical person, it doesn't work for you. And I think it's just a fact that Belal is less technical than Leon Edwards. And the only way I can see him winning this fight is if he forces Leon Edwards to get into a high-paced enough fight where Leon starts to tire out. And that's either going to be through the grappling or through the striking. But I don't see him doing that to Leon Edwards. It's hard for me to see him doing that. Like, the only fight we've really seen Belal do that against is Sean Brady. And then against Vicente Luque and Wonderboy, he's just been like taking them down, ducking underneath their strikes, taking them down. And I do think he can take them down against Leon Edwards, but Leon 100% is going to be able to get back up to his feet. Man. I don't know. This is so interesting. Jumping high kick from Gilbert Burns. I mean, Bilal's defense is looking great here. His footwork's actually, like, it's not great, but it's good. And he is outlanding Burns a lot. Again, those leg kicks. He's not checking any of those leg kicks. He's been hit a lot with the leg kicks from Gilbert. But, yeah, that's going to be an issue. He's open for the leg kicks against Leon Edwards. He's open for the push kicks. I think he's going to be open to get countered too. Oh, he's going to really have to be going for it in this fight, man. It's hard for me to see him winning. Like, the path to let's just talk about the path to victory for both of these guys. The path to victory for Belal Muhammad is put a pace on Leon Edwards in the striking. Avoid all of these like disencouraging strikes that Leon Edwards throws, such as the teep kicks, the leg kicks, the jabs, all of these strikes to keep Leon's opponents off of him. He's going to have to avoid all of those, force Leon Edwards to start exchanging with him by landing head kicks of his own, landing these right hands. like good jabs to the face, jabs to the body, and go for takedowns. So he's going to have to do all of that while avoiding Leon Edwards' like disencouraging shots and tracking down Leon Edwards' superior footwork and going for takedowns, which I think isn't going to be that hard to go for takedowns, but then keeping Edwards in the clinch and or taking Edwards down. And that's more difficult than just getting in on the takedown on Leon Edwards. So he's going to have to do all of that and then land enough damage or tire out Leon enough where he's able to then start putting on actual damage to win rounds probably later in the fight once Leon gets tired out. That's a very hard path to victory. What does Leon Edwards have to do? He just has to keep Belal off of him, and that's probably going to be enough to win the fight. If he can keep Belal off of him and then defend any takedowns that Belal does get, he's just going to have to win 3 rounds by doing that. He's going to be able to land good shots on Belal, like counter strikes on Belal, and also just good shots when Belal's walking forward, like landing shots to his body, legs, jabbing his face. It's going to be interesting. I don't think the wrestling is a good idea for Leon. I don't think the fact that he's able to let his opponents take him down is going to be that good for Leon. All right, let's go back to the notes. Leon's good at getting back up in scrambles, good at fighting out of the clinch. All right, just one more round for Burns versus Muhammad here. Yeah, that counter right hand from Burns is going to be there for Leon Edwards. He throws that a lot. But Belal's avoiding it, which is good. Yeah, that right hand front that Belal's throwing is getting through on Burns. Stucking underneath Burns' other right hand. And we do need to remember that Burns only has one arm in this fight. So, Belal is doing a good job of beating him up there. Having to only worry about one weapon coming back at him. Belal just kind of following Burns down, avoiding all the big shots that Burns is throwing. And he's just like... Look, I can't really criticize Belal for this performance. He's beating Gilbert Burns. He's doing what he needs to do. But if I was going to pick him to beat Leon Edwards, I'd want to really see him put his foot down and really put his stamp on this fight. Like... You're beating Gilbert Burns. That's great. Can you dominate Gilbert Burns? That's what I want to know. Because while I don't think Leon Edwards would dominate Gilbert Burns, I think he would still beat him. But Leon fights to the level of his competition. I don't necessarily think Belal does. I think that this just is his level. That's like the big thing for me. I think Leon is technical enough to rise to greatness. I just haven't seen that same level of technique from Belal, where his defense is so clean that he's able to roll with shots, arm block a lot of shots, and then come back with counters of his own. where he has so many tools that he's able to pick apart his opponents and land clean shots on them kind of whenever he wants to try to. He's really just kind of spamming like the 1-2, which is a good one too, and then he's throwing some other strikes, but he's not really being consistent at finding those open opportunities for himself. But he's throwing like some right hooks to the body, he's throwing front kicks up the middle, left high kicks, right high kicks. Countering Gilbert Burns' right hand with a 1-2 of his own. It's very nice. 30 seconds left of the fight. I mean, his face does look flawless. Like, I think he has been working on his defense a lot. Man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting, this fight. And yeah, beats up Gilbert Burns there. All right, let's watch Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3. Start it from the beginning. All right, Leon Edwards runs to the middle of the cage. Usman crawls out there. It's going to be good. I'm going to pause this. I'm just going to pull up the... Let's go with Edwards versus Usman 3 scorecards. And let's also look up the stats. And let's also go over the stats. Usman versus Edwards 3 stats. 120 compared to 87. A lot of strikes landed for Edwards here. Per round, 20 to 12, 23 to 24. I think this was the round 2 that Usman won. Wow, no. Only one person gave it to Usman. 24 to 17. Let's take a look. So all 3 judges gave rounds 3 to Usman. And wow, these scorecards were all over the place. But basically, this judge gave 2 rounds to Usman, and the other 2 judges only gave 1 round to Usman. Oh wait, round 3. Oh my god, what am I reading? So one judge gave round 4 to Leon, one judge gave round 3 to Leon, and then one judge gave round 2 and 3 to Leon. So these scorecards were all over the place here. All right, let's watch this stuff. So Leon's moving around. Yeah, he's trying to counter Usman's jab with a jab of his own. Body kick from Usman there. That's going to be something that Belal does. Usman tries to parry it. Usman goes in for a takedown. Leon tries to just like counter it with a 1-2 while also moving his hips back. So that's going to be interesting. Belal's not going to go in for the same takedowns that Usman does. Usman really just like steps slowly and grabs the takedown. Belal's going to be like kind of blitzing him in, running him into the cage. Usman's got that jab from Leon. Leon defending takedowns again there. Kind of making a frame on Usman's shoulder with his left arm and then pushing him away from himself. Leon hasn't really landed anything. Neither guy has, but Usman's been a little bit active with takedown attempts. You can really see that Leon's respecting Kamaru's takedown attempts to the point where Usman's feinting with them and then coming up over the top with a right hand jab. So again, both of these fighters are in the orthodox stance. So these guys are going to be in an open stance where if Belal's in orthodox, Belal's going to be in Sorry, both of these fighters are in a southpaw stance. Bilal's going to be in an orthodox with his left foot forward. Leon's going to be in southpaw probably with his right foot forward. It's going to be interesting there. That might make it easier for Belal to land something. Usman goes for a right hook. Usman's doing pretty good here so far through the first 2.5 minutes of the round. Wait, I don't even have the clock visible. What am I doing? Where is this clock? There it is. Ducks underneath Leon's right hook. Goes for another clinch. Leon defends it well. Yeah, I don't think this kind of takedown is going to work super well against Leon, where you're just trying to lean down and pick him up. I think that running him to the cage, even though he's able to defend takedowns against the cage there, you're actually able to hold him there a little bit easier. Leon hasn't had a ton of action in this first round, kind of just defending everything that Kamaru's been throwing at him. He hasn't even been going for leg kicks or anything. Kick from Leon, defended from Kamaru. Teep kick from Leon. Kamaru throws a 1-2 in return. Kamaru's now in an orthodox stance. Leon's staying southpaw. Yeah, Leon's definitely more comfortable with his right leg forward. Body kick from Leon. Crumpled Kamaru. Throws another body kick. And then a jab as Kamaru pushes forward. Leon's just been landing more cleaner strikes on Usman than Usman's been landing on him. Teep kick from Usman. Just didn't really impact Leon that much. So now Leon's really putting the pressure on, putting some weight behind his strikes as he's throwing a leg kick on Usman. Usman goes in for a takedown, holds Leon there. Can definitely see this happening with Belal facing against Leon. And Leon does a great job breaking his grip, but Kamaru complains about a glove grab. Herb Dean steps in, doesn't even take a point. He's just like, you can't do that. Doesn't reset them in the same position he should. Herb Dean's a horrible referee. I hate him. Those body kicks from Leon are brutal. So fast with it. That's definitely going to be there for him against Belal too. Yeah, the roundhouse kick, and he can bring up his left leg and have it be a straight kick to the body there. Also, Leon's defensive footwork is so good. Whenever he gets pressured back, he's always rotating out and back to the center of the cage. He's really good at doing that. But let's see how he progresses as he gets tired. That's a big reason why I'm watching this fight. All right, round 2. Oh my god. I forgot how dirty this fight was, dude. All right, so Leon Edwards walking forward. Lands a leg kick against Kamaru. Nothing's really happening. I think Leon won that round just through like his kicks to the body, man. Kamaru didn't do a whole lot. Landed a few jabs, a few right hands. Nothing really doing though. There's a good jab to the body that Kamaru landed. He got kicked in the cup though. So it was round 3 where Herb Dean takes a point. Leg kick from Leon. He's going to have to like switch his stance to land those leg kicks though. I believe if he wants to throw the leg kick with his right leg onto Belal's left leg, and they're in like the mirrored stance. So Leon throws with his left leg onto Kamaru's lead leg, landing. Walks into a left hand that Kamaru throws. Those leg kicks are very nice for Leon Edwards. That's a big tool available to him. Lands a good left hook. That's going to be there against Belal for sure. Kamaru did a good job of hammering the body. Belal's going to be doing that too. I just think Belal's going to have to really make Leon work harder than what Kamaru Usman's doing. Good right hand from Kamaru there. That looked like it rocked Leon. So Leon does get into a little bit of a trance where he's standing in front of you. His movement isn't that good. Kamaru was able to get a takedown there. I think there's a really good argument that 2.5 minutes into this round, Kamaru's winning it. He landed a big right hand that seemed to like momentarily stun Leon, got Leon down to the ground. Leon goes in for a takedown of his own. He loves these tit for tat exchanges. But Kamaru defends it well. Gets up, goes for the back. Leon's already up on his hands and knees though. He's not going to just be stagnant on the ground. Kamaru tries to throw some strikes, but Leon's back up to his feet. Kamaru throws a jab, Leon slips away from it, throws a left hand. Pretty hard on Kamaru's chin. That body kick for Leon is so brutal. Let's get there all night against Kamaru. He then throws it up to the head. That's just a really good weapon that he has. Kamaru throws a right hand, which misses. Throws a left hand that Leon counters with. Belal's going to have to really be watching about that counter shot. But if you know that's Leon's tendency, what you can do is throw the shot, bait out a counter from Leon, and then duck underneath the counter, go for a takedown. I think that's going to be really effective. Let's see if Leon Edwards doesn't notice that he's against the cage. Nope, he moves his feet laterally, gets back kind of into the center of the cage. It's very hard to pressure Leon back up against the cage. That body kick is there for Leon. Again. The teep kick, the rear teep kick to the knee is there for Leon. That's a brutal shot. (17 of 17 leg kicks on Usman. Yeah, he loves eating up those legs. That's going to be a really big, like, discouraging strike that he's going to be able to land on Belal as Belal charges forward relentlessly. And I just struggle to see this fight being... fought mostly on the ground. I think Leon's grappling and wrestling defense is too good for the fight to mostly be fought on the ground. Interesting enough, Leon does seem to get like kind of entranced into a firefight where he's stationary. That could play into Belal's favor. And he's just so accurate with his strikes, 74% compared to 36% for Usman. Leon has very good footwork. He has very good defense. Is Belal going to be able to overcome that? We haven't seen that happen so far. Is Belal going to be able to tire out Leon? We haven't seen that happen so far. But we have seen Leon get taken down multiple times. Belal easily could do that. Let's see what happens here. Usman is in Leon's half guard. Leon goes for a shrimp. He has a knee shield now inside of Usman's hip. He's figure fouring Usman's right leg, putting pressure on that while Usman is trying to hold him there and land ground and pound with his left hand. Usman, it looks like now he's trying to address the knee shield. He does. Leon uses it to make some space. He gets back up to his feet. Nice little fence grab there. And Usman tries to take him down. Leon grabs the cage. Herb Dean steps in, deducts a point. So we know that Leon's grappling is very good. Herb Dean takes the point away from Leon Edwards. And he starts the fight standing, which is a little weird. Shouldn't you start the fight at the point where you stepped in to correct for the foul? Jab from Leon Edwards, or jab from Usman. Leon counters with a 1-2. Kamaru's defense seems to be pretty good against those 1-2s, though. And the main weapon that's been landing for Leon are those kicks. Kicks to the leg from both different ways. Left leg kick, right leg kick there all day for Leon. And those left kicks that slam into Usman's body are just really nice for him. Jab from Kamaru lands. That's going to be hard for Belal to land his strikes like that. Belal's strikes, his striking is just not as fluid as Usman's nor Leon Edwards's. He has some good strikes in his repertoire. It's just like, it's weird because it almost seems like he's working extra hard for them. Usman throws a kick. Leon throws a leg kick back. Usman throws a jab. Leon's just not there. He moves around. Cup kick for Leon. Usman's been fouled like how many times? Glove grab in round 1. Then a cup kick in round 1. Round 2, I guess nothing. Round 3. This is round 3. 2 fence grabs and a cup shot. Leon is such a dirty fighter, bro. Okay. And another body kick from Leon Edwards. Oh my god, these guys are so dirty. They're such bad fighters. Yeah, that body kick's going to be open on Belal. Just going to write, Leon can get entranced at times. He's shown a susceptibility to a jab. Those kicks from Leon are so great. Yeah, as the fight does wear on, like, Leon's still moving really well. Just skating along the side of the octagon. But he is slowing down, just in terms of his output. His output is slowing down, and his movement is slowing down. He's a little bit more content to stay against the cage and let his opponent work, essentially. Okay, so we have Kamaru clinching up with Leon right now. Kamaru has the body lock. Leon loves to go for that whizzer, and then he uses the whizzer to break the grip of Kamaru. And he does successfully break the grip of Kamaru. I think he's not going to have too many issues fighting against Belal in that spot. Leon is very good cage grappler. and very good in the clinch. All right, round 4. Okay, what do we got going on here? Usman's throwing a jab. It's countered by a left hook from Leon. Leon is now in the orthodox stance too, with his left leg forward. So his left arm is going to be used for jabbing and hooking. Just switched back into the southpaw. Eye poke again from Leon Edwards. Man, so many fouls in this fight. I love it. Herb Dean's the ref that you want to foul with too. Like, he barely ever takes points. It's just every time Kamaru gets close, his legs are getting battered. He's getting kicked in the body. It's going to be a big weapon that Leon has against Belal too. Kamaru's pressuring forwards. Leon's doing a great job of avoiding these strikes. Goes planting on the foot. Kamaru's able to land a pretty good left hook, right hand combination. Yeah, he's able to land some good strikes on Leon. Right now, Kamaru's the favorite. Round 4, Kamaru's actually the favorite going against Leon Edwards. Minus 215 for Usman, plus 175 for Edwards in the live odds. That's crazy. I guess it's because of the point deduction. Leon is looking a little bit tired here. I don't know, man. Usman has been able to land a few good right hands on Edwards as he's been skating away. And we did see Belal land some good head kicks against Burns and some right hands when Burns was moving laterally to the side. Belal might be able to play with that. And if he sticks with that tit-for-tat mentality, it's really going to help him. He can't let Leon Edwards get ahead by landing these teep kicks, landing push kicks to the body. Man, I watch Belal and I start to favor Edwards more. I watch Edwards, I start to favor Belal more. What are the stats in this Edwards-Usman fight? Usman got 4 takedowns out of 15 attempts. Man. They're just landing so many attempts on Leon Edwards. 2 out of 10 from Colby Covington. That jab from Usman landing in the body. Leon's really trying to counter, but he hasn't been too successful. He has that right hook as a counter shot. When Usman throws the left hand, Edwards has been countering with the right hook to try to just take Usman's head off. There is a good right hand. Or that was a left hook that Leon threw when Usman came in a little too close, too carelessly. There's a good jab from Leon. Leon's been landing some good jabs here. And his defense is really good too. Able to block a lot of the shots with just shoulder rolling. But Leon does get a little bit too flat-footed when he's in these positions where he likes to throw shots with power against Usman here. Where he'll kind of slow down and then just throw some shots, and then his opponent will just duck down for a takedown. And man, he's landed some good shots on Usman, but none of them have really wobbled Usman at all. In fact, I would say that Usman landed the biggest shots of this fight against Leon. Yeah, the fact that Usman was able to get so many takedown attempts does worry me picking Leon Edwards against Belal. I think there is a path to victory here where Belal Muhammad can just marab Leon Edwards to death. Yeah, Leon moves a lot, but he does get a little flat-footed up against the cage, and he lets his opponents throw on him, and then also try to take him down. Especially if you hand fight with him. Usman's been doing a pretty good job of hand fighting, landing right hands. I don't know. I might give Usman around 4. What did the judges give him? Ben Cartledge gave Usman around 4, and the other 2 judges gave it to Leon Edwards. Very close round, though. This fight's closer than I remember it being. All right, Leon Edwards pressing or getting pressed back against the cage, actually. Head kick there. Usman actually dealt with it pretty well. Leon throwing that right hand. It missing, though, that right lead hook missing for Leon Edwards. Yeah, I do think that Leon Edwards is predominantly a southpaw fighter, and that's going to help. I think that's going to help Belal Muhammed get takedowns on him because that leg is going to be closer to Belal. We have Kamaru Usman pressing Leon Edwards up against the cage right now. A minute left, a minute into round 5. And Edwards doing a great job defending those takedowns. Now he's just standing there flat-footed in front of Kamaru, trying to counter what Kamaru's throwing at him. He's going to be doing that against Belal as well. That right hand. Oh. Yeah, in the pocket there, Leon Edwards is doing a great job. Let's actually break that down. That was some really good shots thrown by Leon. Okay, right here. I'm going to put this into 0.25 times speed. No one tell UFC that I'm showing you guys this. So what do we have here? Kind of in the pocket, throws a left hand, lands. Kamaru throws a right hand with he throws a left hook, right hand combination. Leon pulls away from it. What happens next? Ducks under, basically pulls away from a left hand that Usman throws a right uppercut to the chest. Lands nice and clean. Then he grabs Kamaru's arms, throws a knee, which also lands pretty nicely. Kamaru throws a right hand uppercut to the body from Leon. Leon breaks away, throws an elbow, which lands. Great combination. 3 hard strikes landed, that uppercut, the knee, the elbow, all in the clinch for Leon Edwards. And that's kind of what we're talking about when you're so technical and you have a lot of tools in your toolbox. Really, really good eyes seeing that shot for Leon there. All right, we'll finish off this round. 3.5 minutes left to go. Jab from Kamaru. Right hand from Kamaru. Leon's just standing there. Man, Leon does get a little bit tranquil at the end of these fights. I think he has a bit of a cardio issue. I think he's blaming some of that cardio on the elevation in the fight where he knocked out Usman. But I do think he has a bit of a cardio issue where he just stands flat-footed in front of his opponents the longer the fight goes, lets his opponents start to tee off on him, and go for takedowns. Now, he's still very willing to throw shots when he sees them and to try to counter shots when his opponents throw. But that could be an issue against Belal Muhammed. Good jab from Leon, good jab to the body from Leon. Usman's trying to chase him down. Usman's just not going for him, man. He's giving Leon too much respect. You can't give Leon respect because if you just stand in front of him, he will pick you apart. You either have to not be in front of him at all or be chasing him down. You have to make him come to you or be chasing him down. You can't just stand in front. There you go. Takedown attempt from Usman. Will he get Leon down to the ground? Leon's doing a great job fighting the hands. Usman doesn't get him down to the ground, but he's walking forwards. He wasn't really hurt at all in that exchange. Another body kick from Leon there. Right hand from Usman lands, goes into the clinch again. Leon's fighting him. So this is the thing. Leon Edwards does a lot of work when his opponents are coming towards him. He's able to use a lot of discouraging shots, body kicks, leg kicks, jabs. He's also able to land a lot of good shots when you're in the clinch with him. He's actually a pretty good pocket fighter because he's very defensive and he has a lot of tools to throw at you. But the thing is, if you're able to just walk him forward, if you're able to just walk him down, get in front of him, take him down, he's going to have to rely on that body of work, those discouraging shots to carry all of the points that he's earned to win on the judges' scorecards because he doesn't actually outland you that much. So if this is the cycle of the fighting that Leon engages in, which is my opponent walks me down, I'm going to throw shots on you, then I'm going to defend your takedown. You're relying on all of those shots that you landed before they get to you to win the round. So if you can figure out a way to block those shots or do enough damage on the ground to make up for all of those shots that you absorbed, you have a very good chance of beating him in a fight. Leon defends another takedown from Usman. Usman's walking him down a lot. Actually gets to the cage. Ducks underneath an elbow that Leon throws. Fighting him again. Those right hands from Usman are landing pretty good. Pretty good right hands. Very interesting. Let's go over the profiles that we saw. So we watched the Gilbert Burns fight. We watched the Sean Brady fight. We watched the Vicente Luque fight from Belal Muhammed. For Leon Edwards, we watched the Colby Covington fight, and we watched the second Kamaru Usman fight. I don't think we need to watch too many more fights. It's really interesting. Let's go over our notes. So Leon is susceptible to a jab. Leon can get entranced at times into cage brawling. And we're going to say is content to defend takedowns. He is really good at throwing body and head kicks from both stances. Actually, that's Belal. Belal has a good body kick. Leon also has a good body kick. Leon has a good body kick. Leon is great at leg kicking. He's good at punishing you for coming in towards him. If you don't pressure Leon, he's going to just be sitting there, or he'll start pressuring you if you're moving backwards. That's going to be something that Belal can play with. That says to me that Belal's going to have the option to dictate the range of this fight because Leon is very content to let his opponents dictate the range. So that's really interesting. Belal can get hit down the middle. He has a pretty good defense against his strikes, but Leon Edwards is going to be able to find strikes on him. Leon was getting hit a lot by the right hands of Kamaru Usman. Sometimes he'll shell up against the cage. Shell up against the cage. Let opponents throw. But Leon Edwards has good takedown defense and a really good get-up game. However, he will get tired and can get pinned down on the ground against very good wrestlers. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be breaking down this fight further. I'll put out a video with my official prediction on this fight. But this is going to be a really good main event. Let's just take a look at... Let's take a look at my predictions so far for this year. So I did get Ankalaev versus Walker correct. We'll just take a look at the pay-per-views. Strickland versus Duplessis, I got. Volkanovski versus Topuria. Topuria won. Why did Topuria win? I thought he had a really good stylistic matchup against Volkanovski's striking style. O'Malley versus Vera. There were just too many holes in Vera's task. This is actually kind of reminiscent of... This fight is kind of reminding me of O'Malley versus Vera, because you have a guy who's not super technical, but he'll never stop pressuring, against a guy who's a very technical striker who doesn't love grappling as much. Pereira versus Hill. Why did Pereira win? He was just way too technical for Hill. He also had the striking power advantage. Islam versus Poirier. Islam had probably the striking advantage and a huge wrestling advantage. Pereira versus Prohaska. Pereira, again, the cleaner striker. So if we look back at this, a lot of these guys win because they're the cleaner striker. Although we do have Duplessis versus Strickland, which is also kind of reminding me of this Belal versus Edwards fight, where you have a guy who, let's be fair to Duplessis, he's a very good and technical striker, and he has a lot of power, but he's not as technical as Sean Strickland. And Sean Strickland had great takedown defense. Duplessis was able to get him down. Duplessis was able to kind of brute force his way through Sean Strickland's attacks. Sean Strickland also has really good push kicks up the middle and jabs, which are like the discouraging strikes against people that are going to come in against him. It's really interesting. Duplessis was able to find a way to make it work. Can Belal Muhammed find a way to make it work? Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be obsessing about this fight until Saturday night. I hope that you enjoyed the stream, and everyone, have a good rest of your day.